Strange catastrophes. Events that caused great and sudden damage, destruction and suffering. Throughout history, there have been several of these disasters that have taken place, and while most are attributed to weather-related incidents as well as man-made events, there are a few that are still out of the ordinary and strange. Join us, as we look at a few of these strange catastrophic events. For our first catastrophe. The London Beer Flood. On October 17, 1814, an accident occurred at Moe & Co.'s Horseshoe Brewery. One of the 22-foot-tall wooden vats of fermenting porter exploded, causing the escaping liquid to dislodge the valve of another vessel, and destroyed several large barrels. It was estimated that between 154,000 to 388,000 gallons of beer were released in total. The resulting wave of porter destroyed the back wall of the brewery and swept into an area known as the Rookery. 9 people were killed, 5 of them, mourners, at the wake being held by an Irish family for a 2-year-old boy. The coroner's inquest returned a verdict that the 9 had lost their lives casually, accidentally, by misfortune, and 1 from alcohol poisoning. The brewery was nearly bankrupted by the event, and only avoided collapse after a rebate from HM Excise on the lost beer. Stories later arose of hundreds of people collecting the beer, and mass drunkenness. After this event, the brewing industry gradually stopped using large wooden vats. Moe & Co. went into liquidation in 1961. For our next catastrophe. The Tunguska event. On June 30, 1908, an explosion, estimated to be between 3 and 50 megatons, occurred over the sparsely populated East Siberian taiga, near the Podkamenia Tunguska River in Yeniseisk Governorate. The explosion flattened an estimated 80 million trees over an area of 830 square miles of forest. Experts are unsure of what caused such an explosion, with many blaming comets and air bursts from an asteroid. Some even believe that the source came from a nuclear-powered spacecraft from another world. No physical evidence of any cause has ever been determined. Up next. Raining frogs. On September 7, 1953, in a small town called Leicester, Massachusetts, storm clouds began to form in the sky above. When the skies let loose, people were horrified to discover that rather than rain, thousands of frogs and toads fell from the sky. Town officials declared that the creatures came from a nearby pond. However, there were many frogs and toads that landed on roofs and were found in gutters. Nearly 20 years later, a similar event occurred in Brignoles, France. Experts are still unsure of what caused these events. Next up. Oregon's exploding whale. In November of 1970, residents of Florence, Oregon were shocked to discover an 8-ton sperm whale that had beached itself on the small town's shoreline. Unsure of how to dispose of the whale, the townspeople consulted with the U.S. Navy, who suggested blowing the creature up with about a half a ton of dynamite. News crews and spectators gathered to witness the event. However, they were met with a blast that created a bloody mist that engulfed everyone present. The blast also sent chunks of whale flesh flying through the air, with one particular piece landing on a car and crushing it. While no one was seriously injured from the blast and flying debris, after the smoke cleared, they were left with most of the whale intact, which would later have to be hauled away by the highway department. For our final entry. The Boston Molasses Disaster. On Wednesday, January 15, 1919, in the North End neighborhood of Boston, Massachusetts, a large storage tank filled with 2.3 million U.S. gallons of molasses, weighing approximately 13,000 short tons, burst open. The molasses tank, which stood 50 feet tall and 90 feet in diameter, produced a wave of molasses that rushed through the streets at an estimated 35 miles per hour, killing 21 people and injuring 150 more. After the wave came to a halt, molasses covered the streets to a depth of 2 to 3 feet in some areas. The flood was so forceful that it lifted a train from its tracks and destroyed several buildings. It is believed that the mixing of warm molasses, which had been shipped in the day before and warmed up to make transferring easier, mixing with the cold molasses already in the tank, caused thermal expansion to occur, eventually leading to the bursting and collapsing of the tank. According to reports, the smell of molasses remained for decades. So, what did you think of these strange catastrophes? Have you ever heard of any of these disasters? Drop a comment and let me know. Thank you for watching.